Excuse me, sorry about that. So, hi. Um, have a cold, as you can see. I'm just sitting in my house thinking about some thoughts that I had over the past few days. These were thoughts of about love and about loving yourself. Um, I don't think there are enough sermons. I don't think there are enough motivational speeches and modules about loving yourself. Um, is there like a formula? I know I know it works for me, and I'll share that, but I don't think there's one either. I know that a lot of people struggle every day with depression, and people struggle with anxiety, and they struggle with things that they cannot change. But I believe that all those things are connected to the lack of putting yourself in a position where you're nurtured and where you can be comfortable with yourself and grow, because bad things happen to everyone. Bad situations happen to different people. They have, and we are affected in different ways, but bad things are going to happen. That's a constant in this life. But what I wanted to share was how I deal with anxiety and how I deal with things that that come in my life that are disruptive, and how I love myself through them. So I have a niece and a nephew, and anybody on my Facebook page sees them all the time. They are earth, wind, fire, water to me. They are everything. So there was a different type of connection that I had with them that I hadn't had with anyone else. And when ever since they were born, I wanted to make sure that they were held correctly. I wanted to make sure they were fed when they cried. I wanted to make sure that they were warmed when they were cold. And I kind of learned a great lesson in loving my niece and nephew that I applied to myself. We have to love the inner child that's inside of us. The child that no one really knows is there, because we operate daily as adults. We respond to stimulus in the atmosphere and in our environment like adults do, like we should, because we're grown-ups. You have responsibilities. But there's also an inner child in all of us that needs to be taken care of. And that inner child can only be taken care of by you. I look at my niece and nephew, and they're kind of helpless in certain situations. They can get up and walk and roll over and laugh, sometimes feed themselves, but there are specific areas inside of, or in their personality, or just their lives, where they can't do for themselves. They have to be taken care of. And I don't care how old you are, you will always have an inner child inside of us that either needs to be healed, that needs to be protected, that needs to be taken care of and nurtured. There are certain things when my niece is playing, she just turned 1, I'll move stuff out the way so she won't hurt herself. I'll make sure that there are no pennies on the floor so she won't swallow them, because I don't know what it is about this little girl. She loves to swallow pennies. Oh my God, terrifies me. But when it comes to yourself, we need to have that same level of awareness when it comes to taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves. Sometimes we need to move things out the way so that we can be free of any type of trauma. We can prevent some things. We can prevent bad relationships sometimes when we pay attention to the red flags. We can prevent overdraft fees in our bank account when we budget our money out correctly, preventing stress, being proactive about how we live and how we love ourselves and how we view ourselves in the situations that we put ourselves in. We cannot continue to neglect who we are on the inside. No one is ever all the way completely together and whole. There is no person that is like that, because why would we need a God if we were not in need of one? If I could say that, if it makes sense. But what would God be to a people that doesn't need him? We will always need him. We will always need God for strength. We will always need God for protection. And the thing that I found the most amazing about this analogy is that when we invite love into our hearts for ourselves, when we start to protect ourselves and to cover ourselves from things and people that are harmful to and for us, we invite God into our space. We invite God into our hearts, and we invite God into our responses and our actions and our environment, and he becomes a stimulus. And the great thing about it is that when we start to love ourselves, God is love, and wherever God is, there is love. Wherever love is, there is God. And for me, I like to put myself in front of people and around people that I know care about me. Now, you can't be surrounded by people that are going to tell you what you want to hear all the time. That's just not realistic. That's not growth. That's not a positive atmosphere or environment for yourself. You do need to have people that's going to check you every now and then when you need to be checked. But you know that in your hearts of hearts that they love and care about you and have your best interest at heart. At the same time, when we look to surround ourselves with the wrong types of people that will celebrate us because we look the right way, or because we act the right way, or because we make them comfortable being what they want us to be, that's not loving yourself. That's not loving yourself at all. You're actually putting yourself in a coffin and dressing yourself the way folk want you to be, and then you're just going to die because you're not feeding yourself. You're not feeding that creativity that God put inside of you. You're not feeding that giving spirit that God put inside of you. Once you start loving yourself, you see things differently. Love changes everything. Loving yourself changes your perspective. Loving yourself changes the way you respond to people, and even the way you respond to the mistakes that you make. Because I respond differently to my nephew than I do to anybody else. When he makes a mistake, yes, sometimes I'm tough on him because I have to be, but I love him into right doing. And I'm patient with him, and I talk to him. Hey, buddy, you can't do that. That's not a good idea. Why, Shell? Because this is why you're going to hurt yourself. And that's how we have to be with ourselves. Our expectations of ourselves is one of the worst diseases that we could ever have. Because if we don't meet our own expectations of ourselves, and they're not really expectations that God gave us, they were expectations that we set so that we can fall above or reach above everyone else's expectation of us. That's insanity. That's too much. You can't go to sleep. That's crazy. No. But keeping yourself together, keeping yourself covered, keeping yourself nurtured, setting yourself in a position and in places where you can grow in a safe space. You have to create a safe space for yourself. And loving yourself takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. You gotta surround yourself around folk that actually love themselves. It helps. It does. Read books. Brené Brown, she has some really good books on self-awareness and self-love. You've got to venture out from the circle that you're in to find this love that you need for yourself. Remember to always love that inner child inside of you. You're responsible for that person. You're responsible for yourself. And love you no matter what. Have a good day.